Hello all you Total Warhammer loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be reviewing the new DLC which is out for Total War Warhammer, the Norsca faction. Norsca brings with it two new sub-factions of the northern tribes. One is Norsca, the other is Wintertooth, led by two legendary lords, a bunch of units, regiments of renown, and it is coupled with the new patch for a rework of the legendary worlds of the old world, such as the Empire, Vampire Counts, etc. And it also comes with the 30th edition of the celebration of Creative Assembly, which brings with it 30 new regiments of renown for various factions, including the Wood Elves and Bretonnia. Now, just to be clear, the only thing that is locked behind the DLC paywall is the Norsca and Wintertooth factions. Everything else in the patch, and of course the regiments of renown for the 30th celebration, is a free content download. So let's get down to the Norsca DLC. The Norsca DLC is actually quite extensive in terms of the factions and the unique faction mechanics that come with the Norsca DLC. What I was probably impressed with the most about the Norsca DLC was the sheer amount of unique mechanics within the faction. I often thought that in previous faction DLCs you often found that they're a little bit different, but not that much different. What I really love about Norsca is the unique mechanics such as the monster hunts. Now, monster hunts are basically almost like quest battles whereby you undertake a monster hunt and you will get really good loot or a really good unit at the end of that monster hunt, and it works very much like any legendary quest works. You go through various stages, you have to hop, skip and jump through hoops, and then eventually you'll end with a big battle. These battles themselves are quite unique and very, very challenging, and it isn't something that you want to be trying early game like I did, or else you will get your ass handed to you every single time. Not only do you have these very unique monster hunts that are challenging, difficult and very rewarding, but you also have another unique mechanic, which is the gods mechanic, whereby once you raise any given settlement, you can dedicate that victory and the raising of that settlement to one of four gods. One is Hound, the other is an eagle, the other is a serpent, and so on and so forth. And what you can do is you can level up the favour of these gods to grant your faction very powerful bonuses. Level 1, level 2 usually gives you something that will affect your faction, like level 1 of the Hound is 10% plus melee damage to all melee units. Level 3, however, can provide extremely powerful benefits. So you can maybe get a unit, you can maybe get a legendary lord. One of them actually allows you to basically put upon a plague upon the world where all of the factions apart from yours are going to be affected by this plague and you are immune. And some of these are endgame, really powerful and really fun to work towards, and it's a nice unique mechanic, very similar in almost to the Bretonnian mechanic of chivalry, and it adds an extra layer of depth and strategy to the game itself. Now let's get on to the legendary lords. Now the two new legendary lords, Wulfric the Wanderer and Throng for Wintertooth, are both very powerful units. Throng for the Wintertooth faction often focuses on melee. He's a giant troll. He's pretty badass with a giant hammer and will devastate pretty much any unit that comes into contact with him on the battlefield. Wulfric, on the other hand, is a very powerful melee fighter that has a host of abilities and can also cause frostbite and fear upon his enemies. In fact, what Wulfric's army in particular, every single unit in that army causes fear, which is a really nice little mechanic on there, but facing him down as an AI character can make him a very challenging foe. There are a couple of things, however, about the Norsca DLC that I didn't like. I think the morale system is completely unbalanced as it currently is in the vanilla version. I'm really hoping that the Steve Faith mod overhaul comes out soon for Norsca, so it fixes a lot of those issues. But I feel the balance is a little bit off, especially for the morale. I mean, here you have Norsca tribes, badass, chaos-loving, Northmen who are, you know, absolutely love death, destruction and everything, will fight to the death for anything, but yet my armies and Wulfric's army seem to run away at every opportunity they get. A lot of the base units for the Norsca faction feel somewhat underpowered at times, but the latter game and higher tech units are really, really satisfying. I love the monstrous infantry for the Norsca faction. They are really powerful. They look kick-ass. Skin wolves look kick-ass. Ice trolls look kick-ass. And pretty much all of the end game higher tier units available for both factions are just very, very satisfying to have, especially the War Mammoth. It just looks so cool. When it comes to the two factions themselves, they do have a semi-unique playstyle in the sense that your income buildings for your for your cities and such, they don't produce a lot of income, so you have to supplement that with doing a lot of raising and a lot of raiding. It is very much a case of keeping on the move with Norsca and trying to attack as many things as possible to keep that income coming. That coupled with the fact that it is a little bit difficult on the economy side, and I feel it is a little bit unbalanced as it currently is, because you have a really high recruitment cost and a really high unit upkeep cost for a lot of the Norsca faction units. So it can be a bit of a struggle, especially early to mid game, to really fill out those armies. And often it actually works out at a really poor ratio of pretty much you want maybe 4 or 5 cities to one single full army, which doesn't really work out well. Now, of course, when you start the game, you're only going to have 1 or 2 cities depending on your faction, and there are going to be all of the other Norse tribes around you. These Norse tribes, the way that works is you can ally with them, but the diplomacy is very difficult. So what you tend to do, and the best route to take, is instead of going after every single city individually, if you destroy the leader of the faction's army, you can then peace treaty and confederate immediately. Basically, they will subdue themselves once you kill the faction leader of any given Norse tribe. So it basically allows you to conquer the territory very, very, very quickly, and you can actually pretty much, on a good run, conquer the entire north, maybe by turn 30 if you've had a run of good luck and you catch a lot of the faction leaders out of base. Like with any DLC, like I've mentioned, there are balance issues, and there are a couple of issues that really do irritate me. No doubt they will be fixed in patches, and of course if you use mods like I do for Total War Warhammer, that will be ironed out eventually. I have to say, however, that the two factions, they're really worth it. They're really interesting factions to play. They're very unique. They have a great unit roster. They have great legendary lords. I would have liked to be able to have a little bit more income in terms of the buildings, but you know, it's something that can easily be sorted out with a mod. I have to say, the monster hunts in particular, the technology tree in particular, the gods mechanic in particular, and the way that the endgame shapes up when you play Norsca is just fantastic. It's something that is really unique, and frankly, it's worth $10. And that is my review of the Norsca DLC for Total War Warhammer. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And as always, I will see you next time.